Hi there and welcome. I'm Roben-Marie Smith, and this is the Makers Tech U Member Spotlight Series. Thank you for joining us today, whether you're listening or whether you're watching the video. Today's special guest is mixed media artist Emily Stam, and she hails from Utah. Welcome. How are you, Emily?
Hi, I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for saying yes and agreeing to share your story and your inspiration and with others out there. I know it's funny because so many of us, as I've done these interviews, seem to have a similar starting point. Like there's this thread of something that we were doing when we were younger as a creative. So tell us a little bit about kind of how you came into that. I know from reading some of your information, you were always creative, but college seemed to be kind of where it really took off. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I always loved, like most of the artists I've seen you've interviewed, I always loved the coloring and coloring books. And I was so excited when I had the big set of the Crayola crayons. That was so exciting when I would get all those different colors, and I just always loved it. But then when I was in college, I'm a theater major. And so I did scenery design. And I learned to do perspective and watercolor with my designs. I did costume design. And I just realized at that point that I loved it. I loved the designing part of it. Mm-hmm. And then as a director through my teaching, I would always have my little sketchbook with my design ideas. And I would have the little people and I would have fabric colors. And I just really found that passion in college and decided that that's what I wanted to do as far as the theater part of it. And then it wasn't until I had been scrapbooking for a while, I realized that there was so much more I could do. And I would add the embellishments. And then I thought, well, I can draw and cut things out. And then it just kind of went from there. And I ended up teaching an art class. I went to interview for a language arts class, and the principal said, I have the perfect job for you, and hired me on the spot to teach this class called Exploratory Arts. And I had no idea what that was.
So, I don't know what that is either. So tell our audience what that is, so we know.
So at the time, Exploratory Arts was exploring the arts. And so when I asked him, is there curriculum? What am I supposed to do? And he said, well, you can just teach whatever you want that's arts related. And I thought, okay, this is the perfect class for me, because with my artistic background and my music background and my theater background, I could incorporate a lot of different things. And we had music in our school. So I focused on the visual art portion of it and then designing the lessons. I loved to do the art lessons with the kids, and I loved making the lessons. And I thought, this is really cool. And so I kind of got more into art then. When I was teaching that class. And then I found you and the Documented Life Project. And that was it. Like, that was the moment when I started doing the planner and the painting. And I had my cheap little set of watercolors and I was testing them to the limits. And I just knew from that project that was it. That was what I was meant to do. And so from there, I've just been exploring and learning, and Instagram and YouTube. There's so many resources out there for being self-taught, and classes online. There's just so much material out there that I just love learning more and trying new techniques.
Oh yeah. I feel like I'm going to be just a lifelong student. Like I'm constantly getting excited about new things that I discover, or
definitely.
That's when you think, in fact, I was writing about this as we're recording this, it was last week, about alcohol markers. And I was like, I never even really, I found a set cheap at Tuesday morning. I was like, oh, let's play with these. And it was like, oh, so it's like, just when you think there's no more techniques or art supplies or anything that you can discover, you discover.
So, yep, exactly.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, what were the ages of the kids that you worked with?
I was teaching 6th and 7th grade. So I had 10, 11, 12. So 10-year-olds going to 11, 11 going to 12. Okay. And so they were younger. That's the age that I mostly teach theater to and language arts to. And it's just kind of my age group. So
sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Just the whole, it wasn't just art, it was just all of the different art. And Did you, back when you were in college, was your goal to go into theater? Not, I mean, behind the scenes, like you were
No.
okay.
So
Okay.
I wanted to be a teacher. And
Okay.
so I did learn a little bit of everything. I did all the lighting and the sound, and I had to learn everything because as a teacher and a director, you have to know everything. But it wasn't ever on my radar to do the designing part of it. And so when I found it, it was so cool and so fun. And so I did incorporate a lot of design units into my theater classes for the students to do, because there are those students that love that as well.
Right.
So it was not in the plans, but but here I am.
How that works out though, where
Yeah.
oftentimes that journey is, okay, well, I mean, my journey started in college as a computer science major. Okay, so I mean, it's funny that it's kind of come full circle, because I was
Yeah.
told you can't make a living doing art. Okay, well, I'll do that. And now I kind of do both, in some
Yeah.
way. I mean, I don't write program and coding, but I do the technology in a different way. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of, and art. And so it kind of came back together. But I love hearing the stories of how we evolve and come to, and
Yeah.
inevitably there's an aha moment, at least for most of us, where we say, oh, like I did scrapbooking too, but I
Yeah.
felt limited. I felt like, okay, this is great, but there's got to be something else. Then
Exactly.
I found art journaling, and it was like,
Yes.
wait a minute, okay. And then that's when it really clicked. And for me, I'm kind of aging myself, but it was when Stampington came out with the very first issue of Somerset Studio. I don't remember what year it was. It was their premiere issue, and it was very different then, but it showed a lot of mixed media, a lot of assemblage and very vintagey kind of. But there was an article about art journaling. It was either in that one or one that followed, and it was like, wait a minute. And I'd already been doing rubber stamping, and I loved it. And I'd gone to a stamp convention, and I was exposed to the more artsy kind of stamps, not Stampin' Up type, flowers. And I mean, that's great. But it was like there was something, and you were so limited. Okay, stamp, color. But it was like, oh, wait a minute. You mean I can take fabric and paint and this and that and the other and put it all together? And it was just like that moment of, like, okay, I want this, and then what do I have to do to learn it and figure it all out?
Yes.
and resources have just, I mean, with the explosion of the internet and all of that, it's just so far for us to all be able to tap into. We don't have to go to a local college or take a class. We can literally learn from one another, and we can share and create that community that, I mean, I'm sure you could probably attest to this. And I say this especially because of the Documented Life project, which we launched in 2014, that it was a group of 5 of us that decided to share a project that we wanted to do. It was a planner / art journal, like, all together. And it was, well, let's just open it up and let's invite other people, and we'll do a theme, a challenge every week or a theme, and we'll show what we do. And we were like, oh yeah, that, we might get a couple hundred people to sign up for that. Oh my gosh, thousands.
It was so fun.
I mean, it was crazy. Like what have we done? But yet it opened up so many doors. One of my best art friends, Susan, lives in California. So I'm in Florida. She's in California. And we met through that and have since vacationed together, our spouses and us. I've been to California, she's been here. And it forged a really amazing friendship that I don't know if it would have really happened if it hadn't been for that project. So again, the way that we were able to have these communities and reach out and learn from one another has really made a difference. And I mean, it's isolating being a creative. I know that you were working in language arts, but you have since retired. Are you now working as a full-time artist, or what are?
So I teach by day. So I'm an online teacher. So I do language arts still online, and then I do art in my free time. But I also have 4 children. So I'm more of, I guess you could say, a weekend artist.
No. Hey, you know what? We're all in different places and stages. And you have 4 boys, and
I do.
Wow. That's a lot. That's a handful. And then, but being at home, you do the online. So it's kind of isolating, and
it is,
you want to be creative, but you can't do that always in a vacuum. It's like having that support and having that community is just so important.
It
And
is.
yeah, so well, I love your story and kind of how it evolved and where it came to. So let's talk a little bit about your art now. Like you mixed media, but give us a little
Yes.
feel for what it actually like. What does it look like when you go in and you're starting to create? What is it
Right.
you go and do? Is it paper? Is it canvas? And what does that look like?
So I have two different directions that I work on. I do right now. I'm doing the 100-day project. So I'm focusing on collage in my little tiny
Mhm.
book, which is already getting very fat. So
Nice. We like
I'm
seeing.
doing that. I do what's called Fobonichi. Have you heard of Fobonichi
Mm.
journaling? So it's really fun. It's kind of like scrapbooking and art journaling, and every day you capture just a little piece of that day and what you did, and it's so simple. Like it's not even how you're feeling that day, but today I ate this for breakfast, and it's just kind of a record of your life right then. And so you can add pictures and you can paint in it and you can do decoration. And so there are a lot of different directions that you can go with that. So I do that when I have a few minutes, the 100-day project. And then I also do paint parties,
Mhm.
and I go to people's houses or wherever they want me to go. Like they have a clubhouse in their development, or
Mhm.
I've done a paint party in a church before. So whatever space they have, I go and I teach a painting. I do birthday parties, and the kids will pick a painting. I help them come up with a design they like, and then I teach them how to do it for their party.
Okay.
So that's been really fun. So I get to do acrylic with that. So those are the two kind of directions that I'm going right now. But art journaling is definitely my passion, my favorite.
Yeah, that's what got me into
Yeah.
broader, opened it up, but I still find
Yeah.
myself really always kind of going back to paper and working on
Yes. Paper.
collage and then kind of taking that out of that journal and going, oh, what could I, it's just I get bored easily. So having multiple things that I enjoy where I can kind of circle around and go,
Yes.
I'm going to work in my art journal for a while. Right now, I'm also doing the 100-day project. So I'm kind of focused on that because that's a time
That's
consuming
our focus.
yeah, it's a all-time focus.
Yeah.
And then I'm, dabbling a little bit in working on canvas and painting. So I get bored, I can circle around and try different things. So I think
Yeah.
it's important to share that with other creatives. It's like if something's not working, you're not feeling or whatever, try something different. And I don't know, I think it's because of how our brains tend to work. We do like to have multiple things and we want to be, oh, okay, let me try that. Okay, great. Now I'm done with paper for a while. Now I want to just do whatever. And then you kind of circle around. At least that's what I found my creative journey has been like.
Yeah.
It's just been, okay, let's sew on paper for a while and let's do this. And now I'm just
Yeah.
going to be working my art journal. But I think the art journaling though is such a great launch pad for so many
Yes.
things. I was doing a lot of collaging in my journal, and it was like, ooh, okay, what can I do with that now outside of the journal? It's like
Right.
like being able to play in there and document, and
Yeah.
then, oh, okay, that leads to something else. So yeah, so I find that to be the case
Yeah.
as well. So
I think it's a really good way to help me anyway, to help me find my art style,
mhm.
where I haven't always been a mixed media artist. Now I'm finally coming to the point where I find things that I like. And at first I had to look at other people's work and say, okay, I like that. Let me try that. And I think that it's just the art journaling gives you an opportunity to find your style, what you like and what you never want to do again.
Absolutely. No, and that's a good point because we learn, as you mentioned earlier, we take classes, we learn, we watch YouTube videos, and we think, oh my gosh, Roben-Marie loves this art tool and she loves doing this. And so you're like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. But then you do it and you're like, I
Yeah.
don't like it. I
Yeah.
don't really like this. And I have found that to be true with things. And it's like, I just don't like it. And then,
Yes.
well, then don't do it. You're not,
Exactly.
find what works for you. And then that style will, and then you're like, okay, yeah, this works. This is what I like. So,
Right.
well, so as a creative, we all end up with creative blocks or times where the well is not full. In fact, I struggled with that for about 6 months in 2021. It wasn't until really just starting with this 100-day project now, we're in 2022, that I started feeling like, okay, it's coming back. And it was, I worry some to me because I've been there before,
Mhm.
but it was just like something, I'm just like, it's going on and on and on. And I just was like very worried about that. So
Right.
talk to us about that a little bit and your experience with that and what advice would you give for that, overcoming that, or just
Yeah.
embracing it, stepping into it and kind of moving through it?
Yeah, so I do a couple of things when I get stuck, which happens when I haven't had time to work on art things and it's been a little while, and then I have time to work in the studio and I think, okay, what am I going to work on? I feel kind of stuck, like not knowing what to create or what to do. So I love to look at Pinterest and artists on Instagram and just look at what they're doing, what they're working on. And sometimes that jump starts things. But the thing that works the most for me is to make painted papers. And it doesn't matter what medium. I just get out some old junk paper, maybe scrape some acrylic paint on it or drip some watercolors on it. And then usually after doing a few of the painted papers, then I start to get more ideas. And then I think, oh, what about this color? And then usually I'm back after that. But making painted papers, I think that is my advice when people are stuck, because you can be so creative and freeing without pressure. I think sometimes there's so much pressure to sit down and what am I going to paint? You don't have to paint anything. It doesn't have to be specific. Just throw some paint on a page, splatter some drops of paint. And I think that helps us jumpstart our creative brains. It does for me anyway. So that would be my advice, is just painted papers.
Yeah. And that's what I do. I mean, I do that a lot anyway, because that's how I start a lot of my
fun.
I start a lot of projects that way because I really like working on really cheap sketchbook paper. And I'll have those, I buy the big ginormous pads and I just have them. They're like a placemat, a big ginormous placemat on my art table. And I just layer, and then I toss it and get another one. And I just have these stacks that are hanging up drying, and I do them in stages. And I've sort of developed this method that I'm using that works for me. And even if it is just, like yesterday I had a young friend over and we were doing some art. She's like, just show me how to do. She's like 14. I was like, okay, here's this and here's that. And I'm like, I know she was overwhelmed because she's looking at me. I have every art supply on the planet and she's just looking at me. I go, just start with acrylic paint. And so anyway, once she finished up and we were done with our little play session, she had paint on one of the it was on deli paper, but she had blobs that were still on there. And I'm like, well, I ain't wasting that. So I was spritzing it with water, putting it on the sketch paper. Then I was taking the brush and she's watching me, like her eyes got really big. And I was like, this is how I do it, and I can't wait to see what it looks like today. Because then I'll keep working on it. I love that. I just love that. So, let's talk. I'm going to deviate just a little bit, and if you're comfortable talking about this, because I think, and especially this discussion of social media and pressure is really out there right now. And I'd like to hear your perspective, and I think our listeners would, about how that affects us going in and creating, because I took June off last year from Instagram because I was finding that I was going into the studio to work and create. And that was what I was thinking about. Okay, what am I going to create for Instagram today? I got to post today. Oh my goodness. I could have recorded that and had a story or a reel. What am I not doing? And then the pressure to set that up and then have to do that. And it was I think that's why I really was struggling last year. And I mean, I'm still going over in my mind how this is all going to play into my overall life and what do I want to continue to do and not do and cut back on or whatever. So what is your perspective on that? How does it affect you?
So I have really tried to, and this is going to sound kind of bad, I've tried to not care about how, do I have enough followers? Am I posting frequently? Because I didn't have an art Instagram until I joined Makers Tech U, and I had my personal Instagram and I was only posting family things. And then I realized that I needed to have somewhere for my art that was public so people could see my art. And so I did a separate account. And I know a lot of people don't do that, but I wanted to keep my family separate from my art. And so I do have an art Instagram, and I do get excited when I get new followers. That's pretty exciting, but I try not to focus on that. If I do something that I like, then I take a picture of it anyway. And then sometimes I think, okay, I'll put that on Instagram and that'll be great. But I do think that it's very easy to get caught up in that. And that can be a focus. And I have found myself doing that before too. And I just have to mentally take a step back and say, don't do this. You have to do this because you love it and not because you want it to be out there for people to see. So I really have to work hard to keep my art just for myself and not get caught up in the social media, because that's very easy to do.
Oh, it is. And I'm reading a book right now called Digital Minimalism. And it's really got me thinking. I can't think of the author right now, but it's called Digital Minimalism. And he talks about what social media, it wasn't actually not necessarily social media, but technology. Like and it's fascinating because he's talking about when Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, it was not for the purpose of what we use it for now. The purpose of it was for us to have a better iPod and then be able to make phone calls. And it just completely changed. And then everything started, and how much of a slave we are to the technology, not just social media, but all of it.
All of it. Yeah.
The rise of it and the need for that dopamine hit of checking constantly to see if you've gotten a message or an email or whatever, or a break. And he talks about doing a 30-day detox. And I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but I'm seriously considering it. And the evaluation that you make over the course of all technologies, your TV, Netflix, it's everything. And then, so it's got me really thinking about it. And I know there's been a lot of discussion on podcasts and other things about social media in general. And I really have to work hard to be like, okay, it's part of my business, but how can I cut back in a way that I feel good about it and I can still be creative and it's not affecting me mentally in that way. Because see, I joined Instagram back in the day when it was awesome. Like it was posting things. It was a lot like what we did in blogging. Where it's a photo and here's what I've been doing. I was on vacation and blah, 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 blah. And we did this and it was awesome. And that's how we connected with people and how we stayed in touch with people. And we got to know one another in that way, a virtual way. But then now the Instagram's kind of taken that place of that. But then it got to where it's like, okay, now it's all about having to do it a certain way so that you, whatever. And I just miss the days when we just posted and didn't have to put hashtags, just put a one-line sentence on it. And it was just like great. And you didn't have to worry about how awesome your editing was. And exhausting. I'm tired. I'm exhausted just talking about it. So,
I know it's a lot.
But I think that it's important, like you said, to really say, all right, I'm putting that behind me. I'm going to create because I love this. That in first and foremost is why I do this, because I love it. And it brings me joy and it fills me. And I don't want that well to be empty because I'm stressing out over all of these things. And I'm saying that, but I run Makers Tech U where I'm teaching technology, but there's a balance in there. It's you can have your website that's going to help you with your business and help you have an online presence. Right. But that doesn't mean you have to post on Instagram 3 times a day or do 10 stories a day or whatever. Yeah. It's really, you have to find what's going to work for you. And your situation, you've got 4 kids. I'm sorry, I don't have any kids and I'm still stressing out over sometimes of being able to do it all the time, but we all work with what we, what we're, what situation that we're in. So, but, so since we're talking about technology, what has been, since, this is about you being a member of Makers Tech and sharing some of that in your story, what have been some of those technology struggles for you as a creative? Because I don't know, when you started kind of coming into Instagram, you said it was recent, but technology, some of us are even very new to just having a website or just being in general familiar.
So I'm very new to having a website. It's been
she just launched it. I'm so excited.
Barely a couple days ago. I tried to start a website maybe 5 years ago, and I wanted a place mainly to blog about what was on my mind about art, some projects I was working on, just basically, like you said, like Instagram used to be. I kind of wanted a place to do that. And so I wanted a blog and I wanted a place where I could put my artwork because I didn't have my Instagram art account. And so I wanted a website to do those things. And then when I started doing art on the go, I had people asking for information about my paint parties, and I needed a place for them to go to get information instead of me emailing it all every single time people would ask. And so it really was a necessity for me to have a website for, at least for that. And so I was struggling trying to do my own website, and I got my domain and I watched some YouTube videos, and it was just not working. I would get stuck. Things did not look the way I wanted them to look. And it was very frustrating. So when I found Makers Tech U, it was seriously like this light bulb, because I had the tutorials, which were amazing, and they walked me through step by step, and I could watch the tutorial on my phone and I could do it on my computer, and it just made it so much easier. And I had to take breaks because there was COVID, and then kids, like we already talked about, and work and life and all those things. So it did take me a while, but I'm so happy to have it now. And I love being able to say, hey, look at my website. So that's been a challenge. As far as Instagram, I think I'm finally getting a feel for that. I don't feel the need to post a lot, but sometimes when I'm working on something that I like to post it. Like the 100-day project has been really fun. People have been kind of following that. So that's my first real time that I've had people say, oh, well, how's that going? So that's been kind of fun. But I've had a lot of technology struggles as far as not knowing how to use the technology to do my art. And I'm really excited to get more into the Makers Tech U, because I want to make graphics and I want to do all these other things that I've seen you post lessons about. And I just feel like that's going to help me with the technology hurdles that I have been facing, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does, because it can seem, well, I mean, just building a website is like a mountain when you look at it.
Yeah.
But if you break those things down, you break down the steps in very small steps.
Yes.
And I was reminded, I think we were talking about this. I don't remember if we were talking about before we went live, or if I just said this. See, I don't know, ADD. I don't know. But I'm learning a technology right now. Maybe I did just say this. And what I really wanted to do was jump in and start doing it and make it look like I wanted, and without going through all the training steps.
Yeah.
And then I was reminded, Roben-Marie, what do you tell your Makers Tech U students who say, I'm struggling with my website? And I say to them, have you started at the very beginning and watched all start lesson? No, those are the foundations. You have to do the not fun stuff to get to the creative fun stuff.
That's true.
This foundational stuff is vital, or you're going to get frustrated and you're not going to stick with it. So I kept reminding myself, I know you want to do this because this is fun, but you need to focus on these foundational things, and then it will make it a lot easier and you'll save yourself time.
Yes.
So I'm reminding myself of that too, as I'm doing and learning things, because I'm always wanting to learn. And how can I streamline or improve? And I'm always looking for things to add to Makers Tech to help you guys out.
Yeah.
It's easier for y'all too. So, but you cannot just tackle it all at once. It's a process of, and then you get confident, and then you're like, I can go in and edit my website all by myself. I don't have to call the webmaster and say, could you do this? And then a week later, he says, okay, I'm finally able to get to that. I mean, you have control and you're able to do it now.
That.
The more you learn and the more comfortable you are, the more you'll continue to update it and add it. Because I think some of your goals, let's talk about some of your goals for the next 6 months related to your business and teaching and some of the other things that you're wanting to do. So share with us some of those things.
Yeah, so I definitely want to work on my website. I'm finally happy with how it is. I think I changed my homepage 50 times before I finally was like, yes, this is what I want. But it was a process. And it's funny that you said, it made me think that I just wanted to know it right now. I just want to go in and I want to do it. And there were times where I finally would just have to say, okay, self, go back and watch that training again, because it'll save so much time in the long run. So I definitely want to learn more about Squarespace. I think that it's a great platform. At first, I honestly did not like it because I felt like it was hard. But then when I learned how to do it, it's easy. I didn't know what to do. And so, like you said, get the basics, get the foundation, and then the changes will be easy. So I do want to be able to add more to my website. I want to get a shop going and add that to my website. I want to do more blog posts. So as far as art goals, I really just want to fine tune and and work on my website. I want to find more time to do art. that would be good for me. I've learned to use Canva from Makers Tech U, and I love it. I use it in my teaching. I use it in classes that I'm taking. I use it on my website.
It's a game changer, seriously. I think of all the technologies, I mean, there's so many that I like and I use, but I was using Photoshop, and I got to tell you, I didn't resist Canva initially. And I think part of it was that Photoshop, Canva, I'm going to be a snob and say Photoshop. And granted, I mean, there's a lot you can do that you in Photoshop you cannot do in Canva.
Yeah.
But what I was doing, like if I'm designing artist papers and I'm doing layers and filters and the things that I'm designing, I absolutely use Photoshop.
Right.
I cannot fathom not having Canva Pro with all the folders and all the labels and everything organized. So when I think to myself, oh, where is that photo that I need to access from that photo, blah, blah, blah. I don't go to my computer. I go to Canva and download the original because they're all stored in Canva. I mean, it's on my computer, but it's faster for me to just go to Canva and get it. And just having all the templates that I create, I can then reuse and then update when I'm ready. I mean, I cannot believe how much time it saves.
No, it's a game changer. It definitely is.
Canva, I'm like, I can't even, I mean, 300 times yes, you know, it's just, yes, you should, because it is such a great tool for us and making our lives so much easier. Yeah.
One of my teacher friends said, she makes her infographics for her students. And she said, hey, have you tried Canva? You would love it. And I was like, oh, yes, I know Canva.
Oh, yeah.
About using it for teaching, but now I will.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's just the possibilities and the resources out there. If you wanted to expand on, you know, you can go to Creative Market and get templates. You can find them within Canva. I mean, and I'll have people say, if I'm going to invest some money in a tool, I'm like, you got to do Canva Pro. The editing that you can do on the photos, you can remove backgrounds, you can there just everything that's available in there. And the more I get in there and dig, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I could do that or whatever. But you know, it's such an amazing tool, and for us that makes things easier and faster, and they still look great. But oh yeah, Canva definitely. It
was great for my website. Like I loved being able to make things for my website on Canva because I'm not that great at Photoshop. I have a lot to learn with that as well. So Canva, it was just so much easier, just click and drag, and I love how it looks.
Mm-hmm. So well, it's finding that, okay, do I want to spend hours and hours and hours learning Photoshop?
Yeah.
Or do I want to get what I need done and it looks good and I'm happy with it in less time?
Exactly.
Like I said, if I'm designing a product that's going to be printed and needs that extra designing option, which I do in Photoshop, I'll use that. But now I don't even hardly ever go in it. And I'm like, and I'm paying for it by the month. I need to, you know, it's like, oh, well, but you know, when I need it, it's there. So when I do on occasion, use it. So, well, that's exciting. You know, your shop, those are, you know, having those long-term goals for your business. So a couple more things before we wrap up. Let's tell us about your studio space, because you've kind of you've changed it. It's sort of like it's really yours now with the way you want it to look. So share a little bit about that.
So that's actually my first blog post, is that story on my website. And I posted pictures. So it's kind of this it's been a long time coming. So with the children and using all their rooms as bedrooms, it wasn't until my oldest son moved out, and then my second oldest son, he moved into that bedroom. We had an empty room, and my husband and my boys, they were like, oh, there's your studio. And they took out the carpet, they painted the walls, they added shelving and cabinets, and they built me an art table. And it's finally, I have all the things that I love, and it's finally a space that is my own. It's my art space and my 4-year-old's art space, because he has to be in here painting every weekend at my table. It's so cute. So it's just been this evolution of where to work. Like I started in a closet in a spare bedroom with my scrapbooking stuff. And then we added a room in our third car garage because we weren't using it. And then that became more of a junk collection room. And so, and then I was working at the dining room table and we would eat dinner on the couch. And now I finally have a space that I can just create and make messes and clean it up or not. And so,
right. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I started out on the dining room table. Like, I know that I share my space and how I organize and things, and but I didn't always have that. Like, that room is not very big, but I've maximized it to its fullest potential. But I used to use the dining room table for years because I didn't have that space. And so I appreciate both sides. I'm so thankful and blessed that I've got that space now.
Yes.
But I made it work when I had the dining room table and a cart. So it can be done. And lots of us do it. So I would give advice to say, don't let that hold you back and think, well, I have to have a bigger space. Because the thing is, if you're not creating in the small space, are you really going to do it in the big space?
Yes, I love that.
It's a commitment, it's like, I'm committed to this and I love it. And I'm going to do it and I'm going to make it happen, even if it's on my kitchen counter. And then, that way you just, I don't know. I kind of feel that way about it. And it's like, finally, we were able to do the room, and it was just like, oh my goodness, it just opened up some more potential for me, but I still was able to create and do it.
Yeah.
So
I love seeing pictures of your room too, because it's so you. Like, the things that are in there are the things that you love and your style and your taste. And so that's one thing that made me really excited to work on my space and get it organized and make it my own space with all the things that I love. Right. So,
I mean, being surrounded by those things is inspiring, and it's your space, mine's super messy right now because we were 3 weeks in more to the 100-day project. I think
mine too.
30 something days. And it's like, oh, wow. But it makes me feel good because it's like, I'm creating and I'm doing it. It feels awesome. So.
You're using it.
Exactly. Well, so let's close up with some fun activities that you do that are not business or art related, that are your life. I know you have, your kids, but share a little bit about Emily, not the artist Emily, the person who, share us with that.
Okay, so we love movie nights. We love to have popcorn and snuggle up on the couch. We love to have movie nights. We've been, since the weather is getting nicer now and warmer, we've been going out for walks. We have a lot of trails around here that go down by the river, and so we've been doing that. We like to go on we have a place called Swig. We like to go on our soda runs and get our flavored drinks from Swig. I don't know, like, it's just weekends. We love weekends to just do whatever. I tell my boys, sometimes the best plans are no plans.
Absolutely. It's like when I was growing up, my mom had a friend. My dad was in the military, so my dad was gone a lot and her husband was gone a lot. And she had 2 daughters, and we would she had this ugly lime green van. This is back in the 70s, and it was 70s, 60s, 70s, I guess it was the late 70s. And it was lime green. She took out all the seats. So she would I have a brother and sister. So the 5 of us would pile up in the back of that ugly van. No seats, no seat belts, none of that. We'd have popcorn. She'd have liters of soda back there, and we would just drive around. And she'd go, and she called it the green machine. And she'd be like, let's go down this road and see where it takes us. And let's go down this road. And and we're rolling around in the back seat, having fun. Those were such great memories of just those spontaneous things that, you can just say, we're just going to go and just see what happens. And I
love that.
Yeah, that's so much fun. That's so much fun.
Yeah.
Well, Emily, it has just been great speaking with you. Thank you for sharing your story and more about you and how you got started. And I haven't interviewed anyone who started out with your background with the theater and any of that. So that's pretty exciting. So thanks for sharing that. And we really appreciate it. And in the post, we will have your social links. And is there anything upcoming that you wanted to share, that you've got something in the works, or just it will be available when it's out?
Yes, it will be available.
All right, awesome. All right, well, very good. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, whether you're watching the interview or whether you're listening in the podcast form. We really appreciate you being here. And again, thank you so much, Emily, for being here. So thank you. All right, guys, bye. Are you ready to turn overwhelm into something manageable? Listen, I know you have a dream for your creative business, but it takes learning technology to make that happen. So stop wasting piecing it all together with YouTube videos that end up confusing you even more.
Let me help you make learning and mastering the tech easy and fun so you can spend more time focused on your art passion. Take a look at Makers Tech U. Investing in yourself is the best investment you'll ever make. So check it out at makerstechu.com/join. I look forward to seeing you there.